Welcome to Wiseowl Property Training. My name is David Tan and this is BRR. What is it and how does it work? Okay, so let's answer the first question. So I'm going to explain exactly what BRR is. Now I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here and tell you that you're probably already aware of the model, or at least a version of it. And that's if you've ever watched an episode of Homes Under the Hammer, or if you're aware of the common property model known as flipping, whereby you take a rundown property just like the one that I am stood in here, you refurbish it and then sell it. This is, after all, what every episode of Homes Under the Hammer centers around. Now essentially, these two examples make up the first two parts of the BRR initialism. So that's the B and the first R of BRR, or more specifically, buy and refurbish. Now, unlike what they show you on telly when the agents come to value the property for a suggested sale, and just like flipping where you put the refurbished property back on the market to make your profit, instead in the instance of a BRR, we simply remortgage the property at the higher value that we've been able to achieve due to our fantastic refurbishment. And then we keep the property within our own portfolio. And there, hidden somewhere in that last paragraph, we have the last R of the BRR, which is refinance. Effectively keeping the property and refinancing it rather than selling it. Side note here guys, if you've ever heard of equity release, essentially that's what you're doing at this stage. Equity release comes in the form of capital growth over time. For instance, you bought a property, let's say 10 years ago for around £100,000 and now it's worth £150,000, meaning you can release the equity by remortgaging the property at the higher value. And all we're doing here by employing the BRR model is speeding up that process by adding the value, utilizing a refurbishment of some sort, rather than waiting for capital growth to take effect over years. So there you have it. BRR stands for buy, refurbish, and refinance. Now there is a whole bunch of other initialisms like RBRR, which is remote buy, refurbish, and refinance. We have BRRR, which is buy, refurbish, refinance, and then repeat. And then we also have BRF, which is buy, refurbish, and then finance. And that's in the instance where you purchase the property initially with cash, meaning we can't actually refinance the property at this point, but rather raise finance for the first time once the renovation is complete. That said, they're all one and the same thing. You're simply buying a property at a price that reflects the amount of work required to bring it up to standard or to add value in the case of building work, principally an extension of some sort. You then carry out that work and remortgage it at the higher value, given the fact that you will have added significant value to the property via your awesome refurbishment. Okay, so how do we do this and how does it work financially, or more importantly, mathematically? So to demonstrate this, I'm going to have to bombard you with a whole bunch of figures here, but we will pop them up on the screen to show you the workings. Now, it's important to note that these figures aren't there to amaze you or for any wow factor. These are real figures that are going to reflect the property that I am standing in here today. So before I continue, I want to note that there are many outcomes of the BRR property model. There are instances where you can release 100% of your initial capital invested, meaning you have none of your own money left in the deal at the point of refinancing, effectively giving you a property for free, which would actually give you an infinite return on investment. And there are even bigger BRR deals like commercial to residential or larger HMO conversions, whereby you're able to pull 100% of your capital back plus a whole load of profit, meaning again, you effectively own the property for free, but this time you make a tidy sum of profit to boot. However, the one I'm going to demonstrate today, which is a genuine deal with the property that I'm studying here, is the more common model whereby you do leave a small portion of your capital in the deal, but that does mean that you pull out the larger portion of your money back, ready to put towards your next venture, or as it's known, stretching or recycling your cash. Okay, so let's get to the maths. So we bought this property for £70,000. It does need quite a bit of work, like a full new kitchen, a bathroom suite, some plastering work, a new boiler, carpets throughout the house, painting, and a whole bunch of smaller jobs like some new doors and other minor repairs. Now, I've calculated pretty accurately due to my experience that this will cost us around £12,500. Now, another side note here, guys, you don't have to be an expert to calculate these refurbishment costs, since we do have a very useful refurbishment calculator for free on our website, and I'll place the link for that below. Right, so now we have the first two figures needed to evaluate the property's suitability for a BRR, and that is the purchase price and the refurbishment cost. Now, the next thing we need to do, and we have to be pretty confident in our numbers here, is to determine exactly what the sale price is, or what's known as the done-up value of the property would be once it's refurbished. Now, in this instance, and according to the agents that I've spoken with, coupled with my research on recent sold prices, or what we call comparable sales or comps, furthered by Zoopla's high confidence valuation on the property, we have a post refurbishment value of £105,000. So in order to work out your cash in versus cash out, which is the whole idea of the BRR model, we need to run some more complex mathematics. And so that you don't have to press pause here and grab a pen, I put this video into a very useful blog on our website. And at the end of that article, we've demonstrated all of the figures needed to work this out. Again, also we'll put the link below. Okay, so remember we have a purchase price of £70,000, meaning we loaned or leveraged at 75% loan to value, £52,500 from the mortgage company to purchase this property. This means our contribution for our 25% deposit was £17,500. However, we then need to add our stamp duty land tax of £2,100, our broker and solicitor fees of £1,350, as well as our mortgage valuation, which was £350. And that gives us a subtotal of capital needed of £21,300. Next thing we need to do is add our £12,500 refurbishment cost to the mix. And that means our total capital investment needed for this venture would be £33,800. So this property will value up, like I said, at £105,000, meaning we can then leverage a new loan, again at a 75% loan to value, and this would release £78,750. We obviously have to pay back the original mortgage from this new loan, which, if you remember, was £52,500. But not demonstrated in our figures before because it wasn't an upfront cost, but rather added to the original loan from the lender. We have our mortgage arrangement fee of £995, meaning our total redemption figure is actually £53,495. Therefore, £78,750 loaned to us from the new lender, because of the higher valuation of the property, pays back the original £53,495 from our original loan, and that leaves us with a deficit or surplus of cash of £25,225 from the revaluation and the subsequent remortgage of the property. We now look back to our total capital investment, which, if you remember, was £33,800, and we simply take away the £25,255 surplus from this, and that's because we now have that cash back in our bank. Now, that leaves us with a mere £8,545 of our money left in or tied up in the deal. So that means, and this is purely coincidental by the way, and not to be confused with any loan to value amounts, that we have 75% of our initial capital back from this BRR deal. And given that this property will rent out for around £650 per calendar month, that leaves us with a ROI, or return on investment, of 51%. And for clarity, that's using an interest-only mortgage at the rate of 4.39% with precise mortgages. So in essence, that is, or rather was, BRR, how it works. Now, however, there are a few things to note before I leave you to digest all that information. Number one, the average time for a refurbishment like this is around 6 to 10 weeks, depending on contractors' diaries. So you might want to include some mortgage payments or even some council tax and utilities in your calculations. Number two, in most cases, you can only apply for your remortgage on day one of the 6th month after the initial purchase. And that's because most lenders, not all, but most require you to own the property for 6 months before reapplying for finance. Now, I do know that Paragon are currently, at the time of recording, remortgaging property before this 6-month wait period is up. In fact, they'll do this on day 1. So if you want your capital back a lot quicker, mention this to your broker and see if they are still available. Last side note here, guys, if you do get in touch with us, we can put you in touch with a fantastic whole of market broker. Okay, so number 3, the most important factor when determining the viability of a BRR deal is the refurbishment costs as well as the done up value of the property. We can then try to maximize our cash back in the bank by negotiating a cheaper purchase price, and then obviously every pound saved on the refurbishment or squeezed on top of the revaluation is money back in your account too. So do be diligent through the refurbishment process and be confident that the done up value is right on the property before you proceed. Number 4, the 3 best ways to find BRR deals is to 1, now this is going to shock you guys, search Rightmove, looking for properties that clearly require lots of remedial work. Number 2, by approaching vendors directly in what we call direct to vendor purchasing. And 3, looking at utilizing sourcing companies. Now just be careful to carry out enough thorough due diligence with the latter. Number 5, financing BRRs can be done using other people's money. So you don't have to use your own capital to get started, especially in the more favorable instances where you pull 100% of your cash back out of the deal. You can then refinance at the higher price using a standard mortgage lender and pay your angel investor back. Now, all of the above points are very complex topics and further explanation would be required. So they will be covered in another video further down the line. So that's it, guys. No dream selling BS, no hype to make you think you're going to quit your job next week, work a few hours a month and buy a Ferrari. It's just good, honest education. It's now up to you to decide if this thing of ours is right for you. Remember to head over to our website to see the video in a full printable blog format, including all the mathematics in an easily digestible format, as well as to see all of our other free resources and paid for training courses. Guys, if you're looking for good, solid, ethical education, well done. You just found the right company. Remember to click the subscribe button and turn on all your notifications for more upcoming expertly explained videos. My name is David Tan, we're Wise Owl Property, and this was BRR, what is it, how does it work, fully answered just for you.